All right, all right, all right. We are going live for our Epic Success Podcast live stream. So if you're here with me live, good to see you. We are jumping on live to do our in-studio recording of this week's Epic Success Podcast. Hi, guys. We've got all of our team here, and we're recording next week's podcast. Good to see you guys jumping in live. So today's topic are the 3 secrets to bulletproof your 7-figure entrepreneur mindset. Bulletproof your 7-figure entrepreneur mindset. So we're going to hit the ground running, and I'm doing a studio check. We're hanging out for the live recording of the Epic Success Podcast. If you want to learn the 3 secrets for a bulletproof entrepreneur mindset to get you to 7 figures, that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I cannot wait to jump in live. It's been fun live streaming these recordings because it makes me feel like we're hanging out together, and that is a beautiful thing. So good to see you on Instagram, good to see you over on Facebook and YouTube. All right, we're going to get going. You ready to go? Here we go. Team ready? Check. All right, let's do this. Welcome to the Epic Success Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Shannon Irvin. You know, we've all been in that situation where we are an entrepreneur and we're trying to grow our business and we're trying to really help people with what we do. And we find ourselves doubting ourselves, second guessing ourselves. And then we hear from 7-figure entrepreneurs like myself, 8-figure entrepreneurs, and we're saying it's the mindset, it's the mindset, it's the mindset, it's how you think. So what our podcast is all about is helping you break down the steps, the step-by-step process that your brain needs to go to in order to allow, see, in editing, we'll edit that out, in order to allow yourself to accomplish the success that you want to accomplish. So today we're going to be talking about the 3 things that's going on in your brain to allow that kind of up-leveled mindset and what you can do, the steps you can start to take today to truly bulletproof that entrepreneur mindset. So Dr. Shannon Irvin here on the Epic Success Podcast. We're going to dive right into it. So one of the challenges that we experience as entrepreneurs in terms of how our brain allows result, which is where the mindset comes from, is you only will see what you already believe. You're only going to be able to see what you already believe. In other words, your brain will protect you from this system called the reticular activating system to seeing anything that doesn't align with what you already believe. Now, I did not say what you already want, what you already desire. It's what you already believe. And this is what really puts a lot of passionate entrepreneurs in a bind, because we might want it, might be on the vision board, might be the desire. But if we just really do a good gut check, we don't have full belief. We don't have that automation in the subconscious going that it's inevitable, that it's already happened, that it's coming to us. And our subconscious runs 80 to 90% of our decisions and our actions, and therefore our results. So you're only going to see what you already believe. And that leads me to the second thought about how we get a bulletproof entrepreneur mindset is understanding that wanting is not believing. So we only see what we already believe. And wanting does not equal believing, right? And so we might have a big dream, a big desire, a big vision, but do we have a subconscious that will allow it to happen, right? Because that is like really the key here, is that your subconscious mind is where belief is housed. Thoughts and emotions over time, from childhood, from young adulthood, the repetitions of that about money, about worth, about enoughness, about your ability, your potential, all of that honestly was set in concrete to a degree, but it's very much shiftable. And we're going to be talking about that as well. But in the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind is set up to just automate into into the subconscious what has been repeated enough. So in subconscious language, it's repetition equals belief. If something has been repeated 67, 68, 69 times, your brain signals that this needs to go to the subconscious and no longer be a willing choice. In other words, that fires without your knowledge or permission. That's a big deal if you grew up in a family of not entrepreneurs, like most of us did. Most of us didn't grew up in an area where we had mom and dad starting businesses. Some of us have, but not all of us have. And so we do have stories about money. And, a big one is, well, go get a 9-to-5 that's safe. Well, we've sure learned a lot about safe 9-to-5 jobs over the last 5 years since COVID, haven't we? So there are different beliefs about safety and money, potential, worth, all of that. And because your prefrontal cortex is part of our brain that develops as we are growing and doesn't fully develop until we're 24, then the patterns of the past in our environment of origin, whether it was incredible, horrible, somewhere in between, it is actually what has created the subconscious patterns about success, about ability, about potential, about the capacity to accomplish $1 million and what even $1 million means in your business and who that makes you to be. All of those subconscious patterns and stories come from patterns of the past, and usually not patterns that you gave permission to. So I always say it's not your fault, but there is something you can do. These 3 secret hacks that we're going to talk about now to bulletproof a 7-figure entrepreneur mindset so that your brain will have no choice. Your subconscious will create the environment where your brain will have no choice but to actually attract the system to you, attract the results to you, attract the mindset to you. And that is because our brain, not trying to intend on it or trying to energetically, I'm sorry, but like manifestation happens on a subconscious level, and your subconscious is a very simple system that you can actually access. You can prune the things that do not need to stay there, and you can actually train your brain to allow the success. That's how you bulletproof an entrepreneur mindset. So let's dive into the 3 secret hacks that you can access today to start to move the needle on that bulletproof mindset. Number 1, we want whatever vision that we have for our business to be in the present tense. See, here's the thing. Your brain does not need to see it to believe it. Your subconscious doesn't need to see it in your environment of origin, but your subconscious does need to believe it in order for you to see it. So what we don't want to do is put our brain in a bind by constantly telling your brain that the desire that you have is out of your reach. And so when we say things like, I want a 7-figure business, I want to have a group coaching program, it tells our brain we don't have it, it is a threat, and your subconscious looks to patterns of the past to look for information to see if that's safe. And because you've never done it before, what happens on a brain-based level through neurochemicals is, may I use the oh so antiquated danger Will Robinson happens, and your brain goes into fight or flight, floods you with neurochemicals, overwhelm, procrastination, perfectionism, familiar things, but those are actually your brain's way of bringing you back down to safe and familiar with what's aligned with what is already in the subconscious. And so we want to make sure our vision, our dreams, our desires are in the present tense. They're in the tense as if they are already here, taking place, and happening. In other words, I want a 7-figure business becomes I have a 7-figure business, even though you don't have one. Now, Shannon, I know that seems weird. That seems wooey. No, that is the brain's language of belief. And so when we say I want, it puts us in a bind. When we say I'm creating, or I am creating a 7-figure business, your brain starts to throw some energy toward that and doesn't necessarily look for a pattern to do that. So number 1, make sure whatever you want in your business, in your next goal, and tell me if you're live with me, I'm doing a live recording here. What is it that you want? And put it practice that, put it in the present tense, right? Put it in the present tense. Okay. So that's hack number 1. Watch yourself when you're talking about the desires of your heart, the things that you want, the big dreams, the business goals. A lot of times you'll catch yourself saying, Well, 2024 projections are we're going where we want to do. No, no, no. That puts your brain in fight or flight. And that literally gets all the systems working against you. So you're in a tug of war with the very vision that you want to create, right? So we want to say, I'm creating, I'm in the process of creating $1 million business. When we do that, our brain starts to want to break it down to the how. And we'll talk about that here in a second. Hack number 2 in creating a bulletproof entrepreneur mindset that gets you to 7 figures is we've got to prune away is the scientific term. We have to prune away or remove any subconscious blocks that are going to get in the way. So let me tell you a story. There was a point where my business was at $199,000. This was a long time ago. And I was my mentor at the time told me, drive around the bougie neighborhood that you want. Once your business passes the $1 million mark, go meet a realtor. And I did that already. Driving around. I love doing that. But when I met the realtor and I shook the realtor's hand, I had this moment where I heard the subconscious story. And it wasn't my voice. It was my dad's. God bless his soul. He is in heaven now. But it was on the backs of good people who make 200,000 or more. Wait a minute. So in other words, my highest core values is to be good, to be giving, and to serve. Those are my highest core values. And what the story of the past that was part of my subconscious about money and making money was you can make 199,000, but dare not get a penny over 200 because you become bad, you use people, and you are mean and a horrible person. So my brain was doing what it is hardwired to do. It was sending all of the procrastination, the perfectionism, all of the things that somehow I would get that 199,000 and then pull it back down. If you had that experience where you get a little results and then comes back down, chances are you have what we call a thermostat subconscious process going on about money, worth, enoughness, something along those lines that you get to remove. Now, here's the great news. Science has shown us not only can you remove it, but you can amplify the removing of it and speed up the removing of it through using synaptic pruning, which is at the core of what we call our mind matrix in our programs. We really do help you remove those success sucking stories once and for all. It's like having your foot on the gas. For most of us entrepreneurs, that's not the hard thing. We are visionaries. We see what isn't and we want to create it. We are driven. We are competitive internally and we're pushing all the time. Can I get an amen and a witness on that? So your foot, my foot's always on the gas. But what we don't understand is our foot's on the brake at the same time. And we get that physical feeling of, I feel like I'm spinning in circles. I feel like I can't move forward. I feel like I'm stuck. We use that language. And what's happening for us is just there's old antiquated stories that you didn't even create that aren't your fault. And they are running 90% of our decisions, actions, and results. So the secret hacks to doing this, number 1, make sure the vision is in present tense. Number 2, make sure we recognize and remove any of these patterns that aren't yours that you did not create, because they are literally making you go in circles and stay stuck. And we can't outperform that. That's what I want you to understand. And if you've ever created a result, but not to the level that you want, you understand this intuitively, that you can't outperform these patterns. We actually have to remove them. So to have that 7-figure entrepreneur mindset, it's got to be, first of all, present tense language. Second of all, we've got to be passionate about removing anything that's pumping the foot on the brake. And if you want to go deeper on that, you can reach out to us and we can support you and help you on that. And number 3, we've got to build a success pathway in your brain. In other words, unknowingly, pathways were built in your brain when you were growing up, from young childhood all the way through about 22, 23, when our prefrontal cortex came online. That's the part that's saying, I want this and I'm desiring this. You actually can use your brain system to bring your result to you and literally collapse time by building a pathway to it. In other words, we've got to make your future place that you want to go as safe as your past. Right now, your brain looks to the patterns of the past to inform the present and the future. What we can do and what you must do to have a bulletproof entrepreneur mindset is we've got to build into our brains a pathway, or success pathway, we call it in our world. We've got to be able to flip that success switch on by building that automated pathway where 90% of your decisions and therefore actions and therefore results will be coming from the place that aligns with the future outcome you want versus aligning with the past. And so these three key secrets are what speed up time. They're what create momentum. You've ever seen that one or two people where you're like, I was just in a program with them and they're at 7 figures or 8 figures. The difference being is they removed those subconscious programs that were getting in the way. They got it into the present tense language, and then they built what we call a brain primer, an automated pathway in the subconscious to have your brain see the future as the safest place. And then all your brain system goes to work to make that happen. So this isn't willpower, try harder. Did you know willpower is a 48-hour depleted resource of your brain? In other words, when you've been on those motivational trainings and coaching calls, and then you get off the call and then it seems like 24 hours later, it's just, how can I do this? That's because you're still using what you learned in the educational system, which did not teach you how to train your brain to be successful. You didn't learn how to synaptic prune away any default or useful programs or program errors. If you think about it, if a computer has a program error, the computer can completely break down, but we think we can outperform or out hustle or outwork those subconscious programs. But it's so simple to remove them. Let's actually remove them out of the way so they no longer pump the brakes of your success. Because I don't know about you, I don't want to be trying to floor the gas and floor the brake at the same time, hoping that I skid into the future I want, right? So present tense language, remove the blocks in the subconscious that are stopping and slowing you down, that you didn't choose, that aren't your fault. And the third one, really, really important, build a brain primer, an automated pathway in your subconscious to the future desired outcome being safe. When you do the combination of those three things, it's like you literally, our program is called a 67-day year because you literally collapse time. You literally stop believing things that weren't your choice. You stop trying to associate wanting to believing. You really empower your biggest competitive advantage, your biggest asset, which is your brain, to start to work for you so it can be simple, so it can be easy, so it can be enjoyable and light and giving and serving. Why? Because when you're in alignment with your subconscious, that's your belief, right? Subconscious is where your belief lies. So when you're in alignment with that, every step, every action that you take is in the pursuit of your goal that you've put forward, instead of repeating the patterns of the past that have slowed you down. So these are the 3 brain-based hacks to bulletproof your 7-figure entrepreneur mindset. This is the powerful work that every entrepreneur must do if they want to get their business into the 6-figure, onto the 7, and then maybe onto the 8 in some future date. And I love bringing these hacks and tactics and secrets to you of the brain, because I don't know about you, but time seems to be shrinking. I've got a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old. I wake up every morning saying I've got 2 years and 5 years left with them, where my mama's and my dad's at, right? Like, oh my gosh, like time. Like, why do I want the business to get to 6, 7, and 8? I want to help people, and I want to be able to create incredible things for my children. How about you? So time is the key here. And if we know we could just use willpower and hustle, and maybe it will happen, or we can tap into how our brain allows success, make sure that our future state is the most safe place for our brain to be, and ditch all those old brake pedal beliefs, time just speeds up. The success switch gets flipped on in your brain, and you get there so much faster because your brain starts working for you instead of against you. So those are the powerful hacks that I hope you start implementing today. If you are watching this on social later when the podcast releases, or here live with me right now, and you really want to get after this work, just put success switch in the comments and we will send you a way to start really working on that so that you can become unleashed as an entrepreneur. All right, that's what I have for you this week on the Epic Success Podcast. Listen, go out there and make that dream, that vision, that desire, that God-given calling safe to your brain so you don't have to wait around for it, but that you can truly train your brain to believe it so that you will see it. All right, that's what I have for you this week on the Epic Success Podcast. Bye for now. And bye to you live. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next week on the Epic Success Podcast. Bye.